Hi, neighbors. I'm glad you're joining me for an edition of Sing with Understanding, where I share a bit of information about why we might choose to include certain musical selections in our worship. So today I'd like to highlight our hymn selections for this Palm Sunday. We can begin with the customary "All glory, laud, and honor to Thee, Redeemer King, to whom the lips of children made sweet hosannas ring." It's our most recognized processional chant, welcoming Christ into Jerusalem. But this tradition is not a relatively recent one. This text has been excerpted from a much longer Latin poem written in the 9th century. I feel like it's marvelous that our congregation in 2024 will join the voices of saints from 13 centuries worth of Christians. Our next hymn after the sermon might seem like an odd choice, but I hope you'll hear me out. It's number 160 in our hymnal, "A Stable Lamp is Lighted." Now, from that title and first line, you might notice that this hymn is frequently associated with the birth of Jesus. A stable lamp is lighted, whose glow shall wake the sky. The stars shall bend their voices, and every stone shall cry. And every stone shall cry, and straw like gold shall shine. A barn shall harbor heaven, a stall become a shrine. Indeed, even in that tune that we'll sing, it feels a bit like a lullaby. Palm Sunday marks the beginning of Holy Week, with rich traditions of marking Jesus' entrance into Jerusalem, his last meal, the crucifixion, and resurrection. And just as we sometimes bring part of that Passion narrative into our Advent and Christmas offerings, it can be worthwhile to allude to the birth narrative now. This hymn goes on. "This child through David's city shall ride in triumph by. The palm shall strew its branches, and every stone shall cry. And every stone shall cry, though heavy, dull, and dumb, and lie within the roadway to pave his kingdom come." From those two stanzas that I just recited, did you notice that echo right in the middle of each? And every stone shall cry, and every stone shall cry. This hymn has a strong visual impact, describing things that could be seen and felt, both in the 1st and the 21st centuries. We will even hold palms in our own hands, just as those folks did at the very first palm procession. But that echo, "Every stone shall cry, every stone shall cry," I notice creates a feeling as the world witnesses the events of Holy Week. And finally, our final hymn this Sunday will recall the gospel lesson directly. It was written specifically for Palm Sunday, in year B of our lectionary cycle, which we're currently in, to reflect on the Gospel of Mark, chapter 11. A cheering, chanting, dizzy crowd had stripped the green trees bare, and hailing Christ as King aloud, waved branches in the air. They laid their garments in the road and spread his path with palms and vows of lasting love bestowed with royal hymns and psalms. It begins with a marvelous description of the parade. But we know this is our entrance into Holy Week, and so it continues. When day dimmed down to deepening dark, the crowd begin to fade, till only trampled leaves and bark were left from the parade. Instead of palms, a winding sheet will have to be unrolled, a carpet much more fit to greet the King a cross will hold. I've always noticed Palm Sunday worship to be such a unique experience. We begin by putting ourselves in the midst of a parade with trumpets and loud hosannas. But then, what happens next? What happens after all the fun has been had and the crowds disperse? Can you imagine that empty roadway, littered with used up palms? Can you imagine the cleanup crew? Can you put yourself on that roadway? I hope our music might help. I'll see you in worship. Peace.